Shawty, she a freak, 10-10 freak. She don't want to speak, she want beat to the beat. I'm the voice of the street, plus a freak in the sheet. She want me for her tea, I got me for your meat. I am mad. Shawty, in that bam, in
So I just feel like
Pit Black
fighting everyone.
yeah. And that full moon this week, like,
Oh yeah, did you see it,
bro? So many people up, like,
Did you
people
see
are
it?
crazy.
No, I didn't see it.
Do you know that when you see like people go a little bit more insane at a full moon?
I had the craziest dreams all week, like
Yeah.
that full moon,
Really?
Yeah. Have you
Like
ever
my
heard?
mum used to work in accident emergency in Colony Hospital in Blanche.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, if there's a full moon, I can guarantee it'll be a busy night. People be out there doing crazy stuff, like do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Ending up in A&E. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why work was so crazy today.
100%.
Yeah. It's the moon.
Yeah, and it's Venus in retrograde.
They're usually something's in retrograde.
Is it like something in the air or something like that? I think there's something wrong with the world anyways.
Oh well, that is very true, Demi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe like global warming and everything has affected the way the moon or maybe we're really feeling the radiations and then some people are just getting it more than some other people and they're reacting really crazily.
You're dead right.
I think so.
You're dead right.
I think so.
Explains why people in my work are crazier than normal.
Alright, let's get an intro real quick.
Can you just tell I'm just so done? You guys, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, do you see my face? Please turn it into a smile and subscribe. So, welcome back to GTG, baby.
You know the vibes.
Your weekly subscription to the gist. And today we've got an extra special guest, Katie.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. This is gonna be such a crazy podcast.
Closer a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
sure.
just hear what
Yeah, move the table a bit closer.
Oh yeah, move the table. Sorry, chicken. Sorry, chicken.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
This
You
is
want to
gonna
make sure they're hearing you.
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Yeah.
Because
this is gonna be a crazy podcast.
yeah.
I think so.
Informative.
Okay.
Politics.
Do you know,
Business.
I tried
Funny.
yesterday. I was trying to think about the last time I spoke about politics, and I'm pretty sure it was in secondary school when we studied. Is it SPH?
CSP,
CSP.
probably.
See, don't
Yeah.
even remember the name.
CSP.
CSP, but it's changed again. I think it's politics is now in the Leaving Cert just as a subject.
Oh, is it?
On its own, yeah.
Oh.
We actually, the organisation that I work for, Women for Election, we were on the Leaving Cert paper this year.
A celebrity.
Open your ears. You never know what's coming up next year.
Well, sorry, just to touch on the Leaving Cert. The Leaving Cert, there's all these kill subjects nowadays.
Yeah, like Barbie.
Barbie.
The movie Barbie's
Barbie,
on the,
yeah.
What did I had Sylvia Plath,
Sylvia Plath.
which was the most
What I had to deal with.
disturbing poet
Plot
Yeah.
alive.
Literally.
But no, do you guys remember? It was like in my school it was home ec, technology, and art. That was probably the subjects that you got.
Yeah.
Like home ec was busting.
Home ec was good, but I feel like home ec should have been taught to all students because like it taught you how to really. Home ec is the only subject I thought that taught you about like
Life.
life. Like I think even
House management and taxes and-
financial taxes, how to make clothes, how to cook. Like the guys shouldn't have been in engineering.
Yeah.
Because none of them are fixing. None of them can fix a shelf,
Did you?
and some of them can't cook.
Did
You know what I'm saying?
Did you ever get those guys that they obviously didn't get their choices in school, so they had to be in the home ec class, and they were sitting there just like.
I went to an
all.
all-girls school, so it was a little different. And then I kind of went to like, I don't want to say rich, but they were fairly bougie enough.
They were
Can I
comfortable.
ask?
They were comfortable.
They were
In
overly
your all-girls
comfortable.
school, was engineering an option?
We had
And woodwork and all of those
We
male.
did.
Okay, good.
But like this is what I mean by like bougie. We had external classes as well. So there was people who did Italian. They did.
I did Japanese as externally in my
What?
school. Yeah, for my Leaving Cert. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we were lucky. Yeah, we got extra options for
Lucky?
languages. Yeah.
Isn't that tough?
Japanese.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is that.
Wow.
I don't
Learn
wanna
to
be-
read and write.
How do you say hello in Japanese?
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. But if you're meeting somebody for the first time you say hajime mashite. Hajime mashite.
So can you speak like Japanese really well?
I could probably get by with the basics, and I'd probably be able to read like road signs and menus and things like that, but that's about it.
That is sick.
That's
Yeah,
still good.
because
Though.
I still don't know anything in French.
Girl, I know my numbers. That was the only thing I was really good at. I don't remember anything else, but I know my numbers.
When I start thinking about numbers, I start thinking about German. Like, I don't know, because when I lived in Germany, obviously I started learning German.
Yeah,
yes.
So when I think of like counting, now ask me to count to 10 in any language right now, I probably can't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But Yeah.
I studied French in university, first year.
Did you?
French.
Don't look at me like I know anything. But one thing I did enjoy is like the literature was amazing. I didn't know what they were saying half the time. But
You know what I
sounded
liked in uni was the French guys on the basketball team. Yeah, they were great.
focus.
I'm trying to.
Come
But skirt back to CSPE.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I can remember, that was pretty much only up to the junior cert.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? So we got no political information given to us after the junior cert. Probably when we needed it the most, because
yeah.
majority of us were most likely finishing at 17, 18.
Yeah.
And we're entering a world where we're all of a sudden allowed to vote and we know nothing. I
Yeah.
still know nothing.
What was the leaving certs? What was the leaving cert subject that you could do? It was like you got like an extra 80 points, 60 points. What
Oh,
was it?
LCVP.
LCVP.
But I think that was more
Oh,
geared
yeah.
towards
I did that.
employment more so than politics.
I did that. It
Yeah.
wasn't anything
Not political,
related.
like,
Yeah, I didn't learn any politics at all.
Yeah, it's more like enterprise, putting
Okay.
together a CV, interview skills, that kind of
Yeah,
like more
that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
But I suppose we were actually only talking about it today. Realistically, when you think about it, most people who go to university, when you're on college campuses, you might get introduced to youth wings of political parties. You might, get involved in topics that like climate change or whatever that, interest you. Realistically, no matter what you study, whether it's French, business, science, you should probably have some sort of a module that everybody does that kind of allows you to know, like, can you vote in the Shannon? Can you, what are your requirements to run for election? Like, the basics of politics so that you can engage as an active citizen, because ideally when you leave university, you should be a whole kind of well-rounded
I think-
person.
To even, sorry, if you don't mind me positively arguing with your point.
Yeah.
By secondary school, you should be, because some people don't go
true.
to uni.
True.
By secondary
Very
school,
true.
you should be
Yeah.
a human being. You should be able to pay bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CSPE should actually carry on all the way to like leaving cert. Even if it's a case where they don't have exams, it should still be like a mandatory thing for you to learn how your country functions.
Yeah, I agree. I would
I'm
agree
not
with
a
you.
good.
I'm not gonna
I'm not
lie.
a good civilian.
I can't tell you the
like in
last time I
regards to, like,
voted. I'm gonna be
contributing to
honest.
society.
That's okay.
LCA, right? Hear it out, okay? This is we're starting off with the conspiracies. But LCA was basically like a very simplified version of like subjects, but they were very actionable subjects. Practical.
Yeah.
They're practical, which I think is what we need. Do you know what I mean? And everybody looks down LCA. Like, guys, I didn't do LCA. First of all, I got my I don't know, I got my points or whatever. I got my leaving cert. But I feel like being practical is definitely needed, and that goes back to your point, Demi, with home ec. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were actually doing stuff. We were we were actively learning rather than just listening.
Yeah.
And I think LCA might be a bit of a turner, but I think we all should have had it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think it has a stigma that you do LCA because you can't do the leaving cert, when actually what we probably need to do is flip it on its head and say, okay, well, if the leaving cert's not what you want to do, there are other options like LCA. So like if you want to be a hairdresser, that's a very practical thing. You're not going to need maybe all of your 6 mandatory subjects to be able to do that, because you're not going to go to university to do that. And you might have aspirations to like be the next person with like 6 different salons across the country, or people like to put it into a box and say, well, like, that's just hairdressing, so you just do LCA or whatever. But maybe if we actually engage with younger people about what their dreams and aspirations are sooner, they might be able to action on them and realize them a lot sooner in life, rather than maybe being in their late 30s or 40s and only coming to terms with the fact of what they really want in life. Then they'll be doing it a lot sooner,
Yeah, I feel like the kids are. I wish more was done. There's so much
While they're
kids
still
are,
impressionable.
like, kids are so young, and there's like I think I said it in the pod before, where like kids should have like money saved as soon as they start school and invested in stocks or something, or what did you say?
Should invest in themselves.
Invest in themselves. So then by the end
savings.
by the time they finish secondary school, they have something, and they have a contribution to their uni fees.
But like a lot of people don't start working until they're like early 20s. Like, some people just never got a job. Like, for me, I've been working since I was 15 years old.
same.
Do you get me?
Yeah.
And it's obviously taught me a lot of like
Life skills.
life skills. Yeah. And as well, though, when I first got a job, I used to spend money like a madman because I was like, this is mine. I can do whatever I want with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it only started until I started getting into my 20s where I was literally like, oh, actually, I need this money to live, not just like live life. Do you get me?
Yeah.
And it's like, I had like a few years to understand that. But then like when people who only started working in their 20s are only getting a job and they're starting to like flex their cash. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like kids don't want to work. They don't like. There's
Do kids
like
even work?
Yes.
I mean,
I think it's because when you're that young, you don't think as getting a job is cool. It doesn't seem like a cool thing. It seems like too grown and too much responsibilities. But if people were making like more work experience-y sort of roles to actually give kids the understanding of what goes on behind businesses, what you need, learning a little bit more in that, they probably would find these things a lot more cool.
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think as well, like, I think kids need to be exposed to the areas that they think they're interested in. I think in a sense, like I was really lucky when I was probably about 14, I'd say, in school. I went and did work experience with Leo Varadkar in my constituency. And now he was Minister for Sport and Tourism at the time. Now, I'm not a Fine Gael supporter or like anything like that. Like, let's put that out there. But it was a great experience because I worked in a minister's office at the age of 14. Now, I was stuffing envelopes and I was surrounded by the people who were making change.
You're definitely hearing the conversations being like,
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And you're learning words and you're figuring you're going home to Google them maybe, but like you're still around and you're learning whether or not that's something you want. Like you might turn around and go, actually, I hate politics, I'm not doing that, I'm going to do something else.
So this sounds that like by the ages of 13, 14, you knew you liked politics.
Yeah.
What got you into it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just argumentative to the core. Like I think I was born a Scorpio, so like maybe that's it. I don't know.
But yeah. So Katie, you're here. Maybe give us a little bit of introduction about yourself, what you do, and you mentioned vote for.
Yeah, so I work for an organisation called Women for Election.
Women for Election.
So basically, we're a non-partisan organisation, which basically means we don't align with any political party. We work with all of them and people who run independently. We were established basically to try and address the gender deficit that's in Irish politics. So for those of you who don't know, we're 103rd in the world for gender equality in national parliament, which is really poor. Like for a progressive, like well-established country, like we are falling way down. Rwanda is actually number 1.
Okay.
I think it's like 8 out of the top 11 countries in the chart are all in the African continent. You know, so people like to act like as if Western democracy is where it's at, but like actually, you know, that might not necessarily be the case.
I can't wait to make that a reel. I can't wait to make it a reel.
So we're based. That's why we were set up basically by 2 women who were out campaigning on a referendum. The Lisbon referendum, and they were knocking on doors, and a lot of women were saying to them like, I'd really love to get involved in politics, but I just don't know how. Like I don't know how to do that, or if there even is a place for me. So they started up the Women for Election organisation, and thankfully we've been going for about 11 years now. I'm now their communications person, so I do all their digital and traditional media and events and all that kind of stuff, whatever. We've obviously just gotten over a local election, and we are very quickly moving into a general election that we don't know when will happen. Could be before Christmas, we don't know. But anyway, so we're just there to try and support, equip women of all backgrounds to run for election. That means like whether you have 0 political experience or you're a returning minister running for re-election and you need our support, like we will support you no matter what, at any level of election, at any stage of your journey.
Okay.
Like it doesn't matter who you are, background, sexuality, religion, we don't care.
Yeah.
We'll work with you. Yeah.
And like, this is going to be a very basic question, but like politics, like it's such a big word, girls.
Totally.
Yeah,
Capital P.
Capital P.
Still don't know what it means.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that's a question. Like, I think that's
when I think of politics, I think of Olivia Pope and Scandal.
Scandal.
That's what I think. And that's American politics, because I feel like we probably know more about American politics than we know about Irish politics,
like
which is sad.
I think
it's like drama.
I think American politics are very easy to dissect. Well, that's a very broad statement, but I think you have, in layman's terms, you have Democrats, Republicans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You have two
For the big
vast
ones.
majority,
for the vast majority.
Yeah.
Then you have others, but that's sort of who's
two big
all,
ones,
like
yeah.
the two ones. Whereas here, Katie, that's what I'm going to ask you. What is the equivalent in Ireland? Like what? Like just the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I suppose it depends who you ask. I think we're very lucky with our political system here in Ireland because we work on this thing called PRSTV, which basically means that we apportion representation, like we the way we vote down a list, like so we give preferences. So it means, like, unlike in America or in the UK, where maybe you might top the poll somewhere, but it doesn't necessarily mean that automatically mean you're elected. Like you have the electoral college in America, or you've got single people being elected in constituencies in the UK. But whereas in Ireland we obviously have multi-seat constituencies, so more than one person will represent their area. Like for example, you and I were from Dublin West, the constituency in Dublin West, so we've got 4 people representing us in the Dáil, right? So we're also very lucky in that our politics really isn't polarized in the same way that it is in the US, in that we don't have Democrats and Republicans, we don't have blue, red, right, left, we have like a kind of a whole melting pot of people. I remember one time somebody described it like as if American politics was boiling hot, Irish politics is lukewarm. Like, and sometimes you do want it lukewarm, like you don't want it boiling hot, where it's
I'm
very
not gonna
tense.
lie, I like it down here. Because even though like you hear things like general election, when you hear it in other countries, it's crazy. There's riots. Yeah, there's so much going on. It's very peaceful. Thank God for the most part we are peaceful, and I suppose like it goes like like political parties have been around since the foundation of the state, so they're old. They've been here for 100 years at least.
I don't know. Have you ever seen? There's this. There was this rally. This interviewer was at, and they asked the Republican, like, would you rather be with, like, if you had to choose, you either had to choose a liberal or an immigrant. And like it's all these Republicans just being like, like, cause like obviously they like
don't like either.
They don't like either. They're like, I don't want to be with any of you, and they're just absolutely like losing their minds because they're like, and they're most of them just say neither. Like they're like, I don't want to play this game. Or I think one of them picked. I think one of them picked an immigrant over a liberal. Like so that's a Democrat.
A liberal, because I don't know anything, guys.
Yeah, so like, so I suppose as somebody who's liberal in their politics is similar to how you might be if somebody was liberal in their lifestyle. They were free, they were open to things, they were progressive. It's the same in politics. So the idea that somebody might be liberal, they might be a bit more open to new ideas, they wouldn't be as traditional maybe necessarily as somebody who was more conservative. And it's similar in like every, like people say things like liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat,
big
and
words.
it's big words, and they really are designed to keep ordinary people outside of politics. So the idea that we will use all this complicated language is to discourage the vast majority of people to actively engage.
And they got
because
me. Hey,
let's be fair, the majority of men who uphold the system in which this democracy was created, they benefit from it. Why would they want it to change? You know the white man who benefits the most from Irish politics doesn't want things to change.
No.
So obviously they would want things to stay relatively the same.
You're dead right.
And that's why platforms like this and conversations like this are so important, because if we can talk to one woman out there, no matter where she's from or what she does, if she wants to be that change, she could be that change. Like it really does only just take one voice. And we need them more than ever.
Well, that's what we're saying to any of these listeners who want to get into politics. If this talk that we're having right now gives you the push where you need to be, remember to hashtag GTG podcast.
I love that. And go to Kate. I love that. They could literally be the next Mary McAleese. I remember that was all I kept on hearing the whole time in secondary school. She was president for ages.
Well, 2 terms. That's what she's allowed. But and
then the Mary before that as well. Robinson.
Yeah.
So it's
She's
two
the
women.
first. Yeah, 2 women.
Ladies, what happened?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Haven't had a woman since, although we do need a new president next year, so who knows, it could be a woman.
Please.
But
No, not Michael D. Higgins.
yeah,
He's real cute,
finished.
though. He's really cute.
Yeah, he's
Oh, he's
coming
the
to an
best.
end of his
Such a
term.
cute man.
Such a nice man as well.
Yeah.
One thing I would say that probably isn't gonna rub people the right way is when it comes to politics and stuff, if the people leading the parties, excuse my, I'm trying to
Yeah,
be
no, party leaders, that's what it is, yeah.
if they don't really have a presence on social media
Okay.
to impact the youth, then they are quite irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, some of the youth, or some conversations I've heard, don't really take the president too seriously or feel like the president isn't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
They probably think Leo's probably doing more. It's Leo's.
Yeah, he was.
Simon Harris is the Taoiseach now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what do you feel about that part? Actually,
Yeah.
like translating politics from the rooms where they're arguing to social media.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think, so first, before we move off the point just around voting, and I think, or encouraging people to run, I think if you don't know anything about politics, if you don't have the language, don't let that put you off. Like,
Yeah.
really, we need ordinary people in politics. That's with passion. That's ultimately what you want in a politician. Secondly, when it comes to younger people in social media, I definitely think more politicians are coming around to the idea that social media is a huge part of their campaign.
Yeah.
However,
Right.
social media does not translate into votes for the vast majority of people or parties.
Yeah.
And
know that.
what's really crucial is that underrepresented groups, so young people, women, people from working class areas, people of migrant background, you have to be seen by political parties as a huge voting bloc, because otherwise they will ignore you. Because when it comes down to the crunch of now, parties are coming together, they're creating their election strategies because a general election is coming. At the absolute latest, it will be in March. And they're planning and they're selecting their people. They are going to focus on the groups that will vote for them.
Yeah.
So if I'm a party and I know that people who are in richer areas, who are well established in their careers, probably went to university and did more than just their undergrad, like very well educated people, if they're the people that, and I can see, like, all of this information is available of where your votes come from. I can see down to the road how well different candidates were doing in different housing estates. So if I know that this working class area is not voting for my party,
They're not gonna go.
why am I going to canvass there? I've got a limited amount of time, I've got a limited amount of people, and I've got a limited amount of money I can spend. I'm going to go where my votes are.
Yeah.
So if you really want the change to reflect, where you're from and your lived experience, you have to use your vote. Like, you have to. It's the most powerful thing you can do is use your vote.
But I think, obviously with the local elections,
Yeah.
and not trying to touch on it too tough, but there was a few surprises in there. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like with people who got voted in. So I think in some aspects, like, social media is working with some parties or people. I think definitely pushing it through your area and getting those, like, actual physical votes will help. But I think the main problem is with social media, because I do think it's a benefit, and like, obviously, when I don't know why we're comparing to the US so much, but the likes of, like,
Well, it's relevant.
yeah,
you know.
with the likes
In our
of-
faces.
yeah, with the president, like, the president's posted on Twitter, like one of the former presidents
Yeah, I'm not
got
gonna
banned
lie.
off X. Do you know what I mean? For posting
even
too much.
Biden, the first place I actually heard that he stepped out of the election was online.
A lot of his staff found out on X that he had stepped down.
Yeah.
Like, that is where people go for their news nowadays.
Yeah.
is X.
Yeah.
It's-
It's another thing that I will say is that for those of us who love to complain about where our taxes are being spent, and then we're the same people who don't get up and vote, I being one of them, this is a very
okay.
good, clear sign to do something.
Yeah.
Very good, clear
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. And I mean, like, so I suppose just what you were saying as well about the president and their different roles. The president doesn't necessarily have any direct impact in how the government works. The president is very much a figurehead for the country.
Yeah.
However, he does have constitutional responsibilities. So if, for example, there's a piece of legislation that comes forward from the Dáil, and they want to make something a law, and the president has to sign off on all of the laws to make them law. But he has an idea that maybe this is unconstitutional, as in it goes against the Constitution of Ireland. He will gather people, he will get advice. Now, it's very rare. I don't remember ever a time the president has refused to sign a piece of legislation, because usually it's gone through all those checks before it even gets to him. But it has happened where he's had to consult people and get their advice about whether or not he'll make it legislation. So I suppose that's the difference in the two of them. But it's still a very important figurehead. So although you might think, well, he doesn't really do anything for day to day, he's still going to be the person who's representing your country abroad. So he's still going to be the person who reflects on us as a society, you know.
Yeah.
And I think definitely this is a time to get in Gist of the Week, because we completely missed it, girls.
Just
So
the week was Biden though leaving, and Trump got shot in the ear.
That was crazy.
Let me not be controversial.
Allegedly. There you
I
go.
think allegedly. I think he planned it a little bit.
I mean,
Because-
that's the conspiracy.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like it's just to Secret Service. Do you know what Secret Service is?
Yeah.
The people that actually protect. Do you know what it is? Like they don't even in the movies. Like they don't even play. So imagine real life. And obviously this woman, I forgot her name. Sorry guys, but
She's
said
the
like
director.
Of the Secret Service.
she was the director of the Secret Service.
Not the director of the Secret Service. She's this woman that she's just a spokesperson. I think her husband is, part of them gang, whatever. I don't really know the English, but she said it. They, before an event where the president is going to be at, they scope the whole
area
state.
for days.
Do you get me?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how did a bullet get so
20-year-old.
close? It just doesn't, the math ain't
How did a
mathing, allegedly.
20-year-old have that great of a shot?
And apparently, now, they got it this
Good
this
loss.
is this is why America is so crazy. And America is just distracting everyone from real seriousness in life. But they got it evidence. They went to the shooter's house, and apparently he was watching Corn the day before he...
Or hours before.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah.
Of the president.
Before he shot.
The president. Oh.
Did you?
No, just watching Corn, like,
Casually.
yeah, casually. And then he said the next day, yeah. Isn't that so crazy?
So he had no
Plans. Like, he
He had
didn't
no
Google
plans.
it.
He just said, "LOL, I'm going out."
I don't like this guy. I'm just gonna go to Target.
Well, I think this shooter in particular allegedly
Go on, sis.
had pictures of both Biden and Trump. So I'm not necessarily, because this boy had a membership to the Republican Party. Like he was recorded as a Republican member at one point of his life. I don't know if he was currently, but he was at one point. And he had pictures of both. So I'm not entirely sure if his aim was anti-Trump, more so anti-democracy, in that he wanted to create chaos. And look, he obviously, I don't know anything about him, but maybe he wasn't, maybe he wasn't well. I don't know. But yeah, it was wild. But what I think is the most interesting is how in any presidential election campaign does a presidential candidate get shot in the ear and he's already yesterday's news?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, who's talking about Trump now? Like, everyone's talking about Kamala.
That's what I was just about to bring up.
You know,
I was like, before we go on to what she said, but it's the fact that, like, she was, after Biden stepped down, it was immediately brought up, and within 24 hours, was there something like 81 million was raised. It was
$1 million,
the quickest amount of money they've ever raised
They had
for
that in the
president
bank.
candidacy.
They had that.
But apparently Elon Musk is like giving Trump 45 million a month.
Yeah, he's on the Trump side.
I will never buy a Tesla now.
Endorsing. Yeah, it's just like endorsing. But this is like obviously from Scandal. Do you know what I mean? So do you remember when... If anyone,
we love Scandal. We'll ask you how you feel about Scandal.
I never watched it.
You have to watch it.
You have to watch
I
it.
need to watch it.
Okay.
I watched it 3 times.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
will
from
watch it.
season
You
1
have to
all the way
watch
to
it.
the
And
end.
And then we need to
You'd love it.
ask you. We need
I'll
to
come back.
come back.
Yeah, come back.
We do a Scandal episode after.
But basically, so okay, no spoilers, right?
Yeah.
But one of the presidents gets shot. Do you know what I mean? And then basically from that, he's won the election.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Like, is it?
Well,
Give
Trump was
me
doing
votes.
really well after the support for Trump was huge after the attack, but I mean, it just seems to have gone completely.
I don't
What
know
was
how
he
you get
saying?
shot and then you raise a fist.
And then he
That's-
goes, stand up. I took a shot for democracy, was it? Is that
He
the
said
same?
fight.
Yeah.
It's like,
Do you get me? Which
he's
is
chaotic. He's
But-
just chaotic.
I think you're dead right what you were saying, Demi. Like it's like on what you were saying, Katie, about like it being dead news now, because obviously now Biden has like come, like he said, I'm done. Do you know what I mean?
Which I think it's rightfully time.
yeah.
But I think maybe that was probably in their back pocket, because they were like, because
definitely.
that's what American politics is about. It's about news stories.
It's true. I don't think
But I think
people
it
actually realize how much power like the president of the United States
It
has.
has.
Like it is insane the amount of power. Like a lot of war is associated with them. Like they have an insane amount of power. So
Yeah.
and that is, I'm gonna tap into a little bit going back to women. It's just, this is why they're sometimes so against women being in control of the United States, because they don't think a woman is strong enough or bold enough to actually carry out a role like that.
Yeah.
Well, you are, as a country, less likely to go to war with if you have more women in politics.
I think you'd be a bit smarter.
Because you'll probably be
Statistics
smarter.
on that? I feel like you do.
Yeah. There's a
Come for
study
a
done.
chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I should have pulled the study. It's a London study anyway, done in a university, and it goes through kind of the different impacts that women have on their democracy. And one of the things is you are much less likely to go to war because you are probably been proactive in trying to engage with people before you engage in war. And I think I'm a pacifist. I'm of the opinion there are other options than war to protect your country or do whatever.
War doesn't fix anything.
If anything, it only creates more wars.
Yeah.
So I think, I think with more women and a more representative democracy, you are going to make and have better decisions for your people.
Can you imagine the change that could happen to Ireland if a lot more women were in power?
Well, if I set the scene, okay?
Close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes.
Go on, girl.
Currently, right?
Yeah.
We only have 26% of our local councillors are women, right?
That's actually really low.
Which is so bad.
Yeah.
We have 37 women in the Dáil, like in our national parliament, right?
Oh.
So bad. Okay?
I was going to say, that's really small.
Yeah, really, really small. In the last local elections, we had an increase of 21% of women candidates run, but we had no change in the amount of women elected. So it means although there was an increase of 21%,
Women are
there was,
trying.
there was no increase. So when people talk about the 5 C's, so the 5 C's, academics have said that prohibit women from are a barrier to women running for election are cash, candidate selection, culture, childcare,
I knew you were
and
gonna be a child.
there's a fifth one now that I've forgotten. I always forget one. Cash, culture, candidate selection, childcare, and confidence.
Confidence.
Right? I don't think it's confidence.
You forgot that one for real, for a reason.
Because I
Yeah.
don't think it's true. I think women have the confidence. I think women want to run. I think women know that they could do a better job. But I actually think women are more likely to get frustrated with the system being so slow and ineffective that they go, it's not worth my time. Like I'm actually better outside of politics doing things for my community than I am inside the system. You know?
It does take time.
And then I think as well, like when it comes to women running this time around, and when we didn't see the shift in, women getting elected, the biggest issue was incumbency, because the vast majority of people running for election are running to regain their seat. So they're doing it for the second or third time. The majority of people in our councils are men. So that means that the vast majority of people who are running again are men. I think it was something like 84% of people running were incumbents, and out of
Incumbents.
as in people doing it again.
Okay.
Yeah. So an incumbent is somebody who already holds the seat and is running for the re-election for that seat.
I
So
like that word.
84% of those people were incumbents, and 82% of that 84% gained their seat. So there's actually only a very, very small percentage of seats that women can actually go for that aren't being contested by an incumbent. It's a very, very small percentage. It's like 200 and something seats.
And when it comes to voting, is it men that tend to vote more than women?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have. Like, I couldn't say for a fact because there's no exit polls. There's no. I don't anyway. I've never seen the data about whether it's men or women.
I feel like it is men though.
And I think it's probably older people.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I feel like it's older men who are more involved in like the politics and running. Because I feel like, well, with how society is now, the economic and all that stuff, I feel like women are all just like work kids, get the kids to school, get the kids here, do this. I sometimes feel like they're not thinking about the politics, and sometimes they just kind of leave the men to sort of like sort out what that is. I know growing up for a fact, like my dad would be like, this is who you're going to vote for. I remember the first time I voted when I was like 18. He was like, this is who you're going to vote for. Yes, Dad. Okay, Dad. My mom did not say anything.
Yeah. And I think that that's definitely like, there's obviously societal pressures and influences that go into that. There's cultural, you know, things that go into that. Like my dad would have been very similar. My dad would have been the political person in my family. Like he always had an opinion. My mom, not so much. Don't know what happened to me, because me and him always fought. We were always on the other end of the argument. But anyway, actually, if now he listens to me, if like now he comes to me and says, Katie, what should I do on this? And I'm like, let me tell you. But I do think that there is a whole cultural shift about how we view women in leadership positions, and the fact that leadership positions aren't reserved for men. There's no, you don't have a divine right to be in a position of leadership just because you're a man. Like it's just like, it's just not fair. It's not equitable, and it doesn't benefit anybody. Because not only do we in Women for Election want to see 50% of men and women on all of our chambers, like that's local council in our Dáil, but we want to see a diversity of women. Like I don't want to see the same old woman who looks, and I don't mean old as an age, I just mean old as in like, you know, I don't want to see the same woman who's like, you know, white, comes from a middle class or upper class background in the Dáil. Like I want to see a mix of, you know, people from different ethnic minorities. I want to see LGBT women. I want to see disabled women. I want to see traveller women. We've never ever elected a traveller woman in the history of this state, despite the fact that they are our native population. Never once. And not that traveller women have never ran, they have ran, but they've never been given the opportunity to be successful, because people have such prejudices against them.
Guys, if you like what you're listening to, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button, and don't forget to comment.
I think there's definitely like two things on that. Like definitely with what's going on, like I 100%, and I just want to put that out there first. There is so much problems going on with our country, but the main problem that keeps being brought up time and time again is our homelessness crisis and our influx of immigrants coming into this country. And I think like a lot of problems, and probably why people are not going into election is because we're already at this standpoint of people already hating us for being here. Do you know what I mean? And it's like and I think it's going to be a cat and mouse situation, because to change the politics and to change the country, we need more people who do come from immigrant backgrounds, who are like
to actually make the fight,
to help the fight. But there's so much propaganda going on out there that is absolutely wild. I think as well, like especially why there's probably a lot of older people voting as well, is because the government, especially for our generation, has failed us in a sense of like just to live, like renting, buying a house, going out, socializing, like just like actually surviving in Ireland is so expensive. And that's why there's so many people emigrating to the likes of different countries and stuff like that. And it's like, I think a lot of young people don't have faith in our government. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I don't really. Like,
when it comes to politics, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's the far right that actually really scare me away from politics. For me personally, it's like, especially on TikTok, I don't know if people have seen, we've gotten quite a lot of recent comments recently. And it's like, even though I know it's counterproductive to kind of listen to them, because nothing changes when we give the far right the go ahead to bully us into not running. But it's so hard to sit there and listen to it, because it's like, I remember when the last election happened, I saw so many people of different minorities up. Especially like now that I moved to Dublin, I'm seeing, I walked out of my estate and I was like, who are these people? And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then you go online and it's not pretty cool, and you're like, well, okay, I think I'm gonna just sit in this little hole, and it's just whatever happens.
I mean, on a good note, like we definitely had more migrant candidates than ever before, which was amazing. And well done to anybody who ran. whether you're successful or not, well done.
Yeah, if your face is on the board,
But
shout out to you.
I mean, like we had, for example, Helen Ogbu was elected to Galway City Council, first ever black woman elected to the council. We have Yemi Adenuga in Meath. We have Iremu in Longford. Like we have some really amazing black women who are, you know, doing this work, but they are subjected to some horrible abuse and racism online, especially. And I think that's why a lot of people, when we talk about the 5 C's, some people are starting to introduce a 6th one and call it cyber, and why women are put off politics. And look, the thing in Women for Election is we're obviously actively trying to encourage women to run.
Yeah.
And it can be very difficult when they look at me and they go, are you mad? Why would I subject myself to that? Yeah. And it can be very hard to answer the question and say, well, I think it would be worth it, because like you said, we have a very difficult problem in that our problem is, you know, harsh politics, toxic politics, and kind of horribleness on social media and things like that. But the answer to that is more women in politics. So when the problem directly affects you and your safety and mental health and all of these things, but you're the solution, it's a very hard sell for us. Yeah. But I think, you know, the one thing is that having worked with an awful lot of candidates, is that the vast majority of people who run for election most of the time will have very pleasant and respectful interactions with the public. Very, very respectful. I'm not saying that the abuse doesn't happen. Of course it does. And, you know, Women for Election, we recently did a lot of work with An Garda Síochána to ensure that there were Garda liaison officers across the country in order to be able to, you know, candidates to contact. And we did a full booklet about advice and keeping yourself safe during the campaign and all of these things. But,
thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. But I can't overstate that the majority of people are actually really pleasant to deal with when you knock on their door. Even if they don't agree with you, even if I was to knock on their door and they look at me and they go, Katie, there is no way I'm going to vote for you because I don't vote for your party, but thank you very much for your time. And they'll close the door. And that's fine. That is the true, like, you know, beauty of democracy, is that we actually can disagree. Like, I want to be able to stand at your door and disagree with you. Like, I want to be able to talk about housing. Like, I wanted to have these debates and talk about how we can make our society better. But we do so respectfully, and we do so in a civil manner that, you know, nobody is pointing the finger at me saying, you know, well, you're this, that and the other. And let's be fair, the abuse is gendered. Like, you know, women will get a lot more abuse than male politicians will get. And it only gets worse if you're a woman of colour, or if you're a woman, or a traveller woman, or a disabled woman, or any, or a trans woman. Like, God forbid. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you will get it a lot worse. But the vast majority of times, you will have pleasant experiences. And if you're successful, you have a real opportunity to make a major change for the people who look like you and who live lives like you. And that's what's really, really key.
You spoke about there, Katie, about how, like previously, about how you don't have to have the political jargon. You don't have to be as educated as you expect to be in politics. So how do you know politics is your calling? Is that a question?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for a lot of women, politics is not their calling. What is their calling is they really, really care about the disabled children in their community, or they really, really care about the safety of, like, their children going to school, or they really, really care about, like, sometimes they really, really care about economics and their accountants, or their, you know, they believe that there is a better way to spend the country's finances, and there's there's a better way for life for people, and they're really passionate about something, and they want to pursue it. So it's not politics; it's whatever the adjacent issue is. I really think most politicians that are currently in Irish politics, if you ask them why did you get involved, they're not going to say because I wanted to be a politician. They're going to say because I wanted to help people, because I wanted to see a difference, or I wanted to make a change. And I think, for a lot of people, and this goes for men and women, that are community leaders, you know, no, in any shape or form, a lot of the time they don't see their work as political. But this podcast is political. This, like, you know, if you're working in a school, or you're doing, you know, extracurricular activities for kids in a disadvantaged area, that is political. Like, that is politics. Like, politics is the everyday experience of everyday people. And you don't need a master's degree in political science to be able to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. I was like, so what do you need to run?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? So it depends. Do you want to run with a party? If you want to run with a party, you need to have the party select you. And if that means that you're running in a constituency, for example, where there might be 2 other people who also want to be the representative, you have to go through a selection convention, which is just a competition to get the nomination. And then once you have that, that's it. That is literally it. That's all you need. Like, and if you're running independently, you just have to have, I don't know how many it is now, to be honest, you'd have to check online, but you have to have a certain amount of nominations, like people signing in your constituency, and you can run.
Okay.
And you return it to your returning officer and you say, I have intentions to run. You give them your ID and all of the things that you need to do in your local council, and you're on the ballot. Once the nomination process is open, obviously, there's only a period of time where it's open, but anyone is more than welcome to run. And now, obviously, you have to be, for the Dáil and Shannon elections, you have to be a citizen in the country. And I think in the local elections, you just have to be living here. You have to be an ordinary resident. You don't have to have citizenship. So anybody can run.
Would you ever run?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, 100% I'll run. I was actually asked this year to run, but I didn't. I chose not to.
I'd vote for you.
Thanks.
You have me sold.
It wasn't my time, but it definitely will be my time one day. I think I would love to run. I just need to find my political home. I think I don't have one yet. So.
Okay.
Oh, like a party?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I think, like, I saw a lot more independent people.
Well, I think the reason why you saw that, sorry for cutting across you,
No worries.
is because people this time around were masking as independents, but were actually in groups, like far right groups that, you know, they didn't declare as being far right groups. Now, that's not all independents. Like, there are some really great independents out there that are working really hard for communities. But there is a percentage of those people who ran independently that ran for ulterior motives, and a lot of them were far right ulterior.
Okay. Well,
Crazy.
you can actually, because I went through, like, because I'm not going to lie, guys, I didn't vote yet because it was like a couple of days for the election. I had all these, not ballots, but I had all these, what do you call these?
The, like, manifesto leaflets. Like
the leaflets coming in, and I just went through all of them. Like, the first one was literally like, it's just political ways on how to say we want Ireland to be white. Like, literally. And I was literally like, I just kept flicking through them. They were like, we need to reduce our refugees coming into this country. We need to, like, stomp down on citizenship. And I'm like, yes, 100% we need to do those things, but for the right reasons. I think that's what people are missing out on. Yes, we do have a homelessness crisis. We do have a housing crisis. We do have an influx of refugees coming into this country. But that doesn't mean we need to give out to the refugees. We need to be looking at our government and we need to be voting more women into election so we can change what's been happening. Do you know what I mean? The same 3 parties or the same 4 parties are always the ones that are coming up against. We're coming up against. And it's the same names, the same people. We need to change that. We don't need to change our borders.
About the same thing when it's the same people that are sat and making the same decisions.
And obviously, given the nature of my job, I don't have an opinion on these things because we are non-partisan. So I obviously work with government parties all the time to increase the number of women, and we don't get into policy discussions. We just purely talk about what's impacting women and their ability to run or get elected. But I think if there is one thing that I probably could leave you girls with today is, I did recently see a TikTok, right? And like, people will laugh at me, oh, TikTok. But anyway, it was a British girl, and she was talking about how people, particularly men, behave in a certain way politically. They might say they're a feminist. They might say, I stand for women's rights. I want to see the gender pay gap closed. I want all of these equal rights for women. But socially, they don't behave that way. So socially, they will continue to drag women down, or they will, ogle women, or they'll make them feel uncomfortable in nightclubs, or they'll do whatever the case may be. And you can add that similarly to like everyday life. So if politically, you want to see changes, you want to see different policies in housing, or you want to see different policies in immigration, politically, socially, you have to behave that way as well. And that does mean going to vote and using your voice, because ultimately we will go nowhere until we start mobilizing as a whole society to vote for what we want. And And not that it's a political point or a policy point, it is just fact. But there is international law that says that we need to take, you know, a certain amount of refugees and asylum seekers into Ireland, and that's only right because we have the resources to do so. It's just about how we do that.
100%. It's about how. And I think definitely, like, I feel like speaking about politics and not actually voting on politics is sort of like, it's, I don't know what it is. It's sort of like, you're just being like,
nicer to speak about. And then when the decision's in front of you, it gets really scary.
Yeah, of course. And look, like, there is absolutely no judgment, no shame. There are so many people who don't use their vote. Yeah. And it is really hard to decipher what's the truth and what's just electioneering.
How
or
would you even kind of gauge, like, you know, choosing someone that, like, is going to be a future participant in making decisions for your country? Like, what advice would you give, let's say, your friend on, obviously, I know you said you can't be, but is there like a way, let's say some tips on how to pick someone and notice, let's say, their ulterior motives, and just see the clear-cut vision of what they're actually doing?
I think one of the best ways is when they do knock at your door, don't be afraid to ask them that questions. I think a lot of the time, I don't know if you girls live at home, but I live at home anyway, and like, I know a lot of people my age, they knock on the door, they'll see the candidate at the door, and they'll go, oh yeah, I'll get my mum and dad for you now, even though I'm a 28-year-old like voter for the last 10 years. So it is really important that when they're at the door, ask them whatever it is that you want to ask them, or whatever it is that you feel is not being done right, especially if they're in a government party. Like, ask them that question, and don't be afraid to sound stupid, because ultimately they're there for you. They want your vote. So you're in the power position. Like, they might have the power in government or in the Dáil or the local or the local council, but you're in the position of power there when they're at your door, because they're hoping that they can convince you to give them your number one. So definitely ask the questions when they're at the door. Secondly is, if you have the literature, for example, that's coming through your door, there will be look, I know that sometimes what they write can be very confusing and over the top, and it doesn't need to be that way, but it is there will be a contact at the bottom. Contact them. I can promise you this. If they think there's an opportunity that they might convince you and your household to give your number one vote to them, they will talk to you. Like, and they will answer your phone calls, they'll answer your text messages, they'll answer your emails. I promise you this. And then thirdly, if I can give us a little plug, is Women for Election actually have developed a database. So we have a data hub on our website, which is womenforelection.ie. And we actually have a separate URL called votewomen.ie, where during the local elections, we had a map of Ireland where you could click into your area. Because a lot of the time people don't know what their local electoral area is called, especially in the locals. So you're able to click on the map where you're living, and you'll be able to see all the women that are running in your area. You'll be able to have a look at all of their details and research them and choose who you want to vote for. And we'll be developing that once all the women are selected for the general election, whenever that may be.
I have a question on the general election,
Go for it.
You said it could be before Christmas or March. Why is it such a broad...
So so I say March because the government can't go beyond March, because that's their 5-year term done. So like, that's their absolute max that they can go to. It is March. It's not May. No, it is March. It's definitely March. Could be May. No, it is May. It is March. No, it is March. It is. That's their time as government. So they have to have an election in 5 years. There's speculation that there will be one before Christmas, because, well, the budget was brought earlier in October, which is unusual. It's usually the 2nd or 3rd Tuesday of October, and it's now the 1st Tuesday. Obviously, Leo Varadkar has stepped down as leader of Fine Gael, and has said that he has no intention of rerunning.
Wow, he's been around for a couple of years.
Yeah, Eamon Ryan has also stepped down as leader of the Green Party, and is not rerunning.
Vote women.
So exactly, vote women in those seats. I actually think there is a woman selected to run for Leo Varadkar's seat, which is great. In our constituency. But I think there is just this speculation that the government will decide to have an election before Christmas, for loads of different reasons as well. They're polling well than they were. Sinn Féin were polling well, and then are now not polling as well as they were. So they might take the opportunity for that. I don't know. It's all a guessing game, and anyone who pretends to have the answer is lying. Unless they are Simon Harris themselves, the Taoiseach themselves, they are lying to you. They don't know.
So basically, the people in government set the next election.
Yes. So Simon
Okay.
Harris will basically decide whenever he decides. Maybe he has the decision made. I don't know. But he'll decide one day to say, okay, I'm dissolving the doll, and he'll go to the president's house in the Phoenix Park.
The drama.
And he'll go to the Orson Nuctron, which is where Michael D. Higgins lives, and he'll tell the president, I've made the decision to dissolve the doll. And from that day, there's no government. There's a caretaker government.
So it's like scandal. It is like scandal.
It's so exciting.
Someone needs to write a story on this, because you just made the politics sound so interesting.
Oh, it is, and like it is. Like I used to work in Leinster House where the doll sits, and I tell you this: when I left, it was like a drug I was withdrawing from. Like it is the adrenaline of like things happening during the days. Like it's honestly, it's so good.
I've got two questions. I've got two things I want to say. Yeah, but firstly, girls, do you not remember the budget? The budget is like one of the best days of the year.
Yeah, I love the budget.
Yeah, everyone wants to know how much money we're getting back.
Yeah.
Everybody's sitting there. You get to know. Yeah, you get to know.
Your cigarettes are going up. Your alcohol, your bottle of wine is going up.
Out there. All I want to know is how much money's coming back into my pocket.
USC,
What can I claim
everything.
back?
Yeah.
And everybody just be sitting there. There'd be no Hollyoaks. There's no EastEnders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
it's just the budget.
It's just RTE straight for Angelus. Once the Angelus goes on, there'd be no talking. Because the budget be on.
Yeah.
And I'm excited.
And I was that nerd that was up in the gallery, like getting tickets when I was a kid to like sit in the doll, like in the gallery and watch it like happening. I was some weirdo.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that. And then and then afterwards, because there's a lot of jargon that goes on,
Yeah,
and
lots.
then the next morning is when you get the bullet points of we get this back, we get that back, we get everything.
I wait till the next morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie.
No,
I don't think-
wait till the next morning, but I have to deal with my mom.
Oh, okay,
Just being
fair
like-
enough. Because I was gonna say I don't even hear about it till the next morning.
Well, sorry.
Go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say the drama, like if you want to know about drama. So in the last general election in 2020, Leo Varadkar, the then Taoiseach, decided on a Sunday that he was dissolving the doll. Like just after Christmas. Like, so everyone was off on holidays. Like the doll hadn't even sat back, I think. Yeah. And it was like a Sunday.
Spicy.
And he just decided to go to the Oris and dissolve the doll. And everyone was like, chaos, because even like political parties weren't ready. Like they didn't have people selected. They didn't have
too busy still eating turkey sandwiches.
Yeah. And he was like, do you know what?
But you know what? I like
feel
his
like
style.
doing.
Yeah.
I like
Hey,
his
Michael.
style. Because I'm like, came in.
He chose violence.
No
I
one's hair.
love
No
that.
one's
I
hair.
actually love that so much.
Leo, if you're watching, do you like the drama or
Are you the drama? Are you the
He
drama?
knows.
The drama?
I've got a question, because I just moved from Carlow to Dublin.
Okay, cool.
So, do I vote in Dublin or do I vote in Carlow?
It's your choice, whichever you want. Like if you're registered, it's wherever you're registered.
Oh, so I have to register first.
Yes, yes.
That'd be the first step.
Yes. So if you haven't, if you've never voted, and if you want to vote and you should vote, is you go on to checktheregister.ie and there's a step by step on what you need to do. It's pretty straightforward. You just need to give them your
Because
details.
with the last one, I thought about it and I was like looking at all the stuff that's coming in through the post.
much easier now.
And all that stuff. And I was like, I don't even know if I can vote here. So I was like, this is not my business. And I
No.
just carried on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making it my business now.
Yes.
Making
Check
it
the
my
register.ie. Make sure your name's not on it. If it's not on it, then you register and you'll be able to vote, and you can choose whichever wherever you want to vote. I still vote in my home place. My fiance votes in his home place in Tala, so like we do both. And I would imagine that when we do get our own place, we will vote wherever that place is. But a lot of people that move from countryside to Dublin still go home to vote, because there's something I think a little bit nostalgic about going home to vote. You're like, that's where you're from, it's your community, you feel like you want your vote there. But
another thing that I think, if any of you people who are in the Dáil are hearing, right, you need to give the people who are working some time off during the day to vote, even if it's just an hour.
That's dead on.
that is
An hour.
That is a conversation.
I remember
An
there was-
hour? Whole day.
No, even
Whole day.
well, the
Like
whole
the
day was
teachers,
not
the
gonna
teachers get the
happen.
day off because it's in primary school. So like,
Oh,
so I want that.
Because it's one of those things where it's like there was one time I really wanted to vote and I couldn't because I was working. I was working a 12-hour shift. It was closed when I got in. It was closed when I got out.
Fair,
Yeah.
the 12-hour shift would be hard. It does open at 7 and it closes at 10. So,
We need more bank holiday Mondays.
it's-
Like the
More
UK.
back on list.
maybe you should run on that platform to get more
Yeah.
back holiday Mondays.
Listen, can I tell you
Ireland
something?
has quite a lot, but I like it.
I feel like
We actually have the less of the EU average of bank holidays.
Less.
Really?
Yeah, less.
Well, see,
We
that's
have
because
one a
the
week.
UK got like an extra 4 with all their hullabaloo last
and
year.
their kings and queens dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have one like nearly. We have January.
There's only 2 months in the year that we don't have. Well, 2,
Yeah,
3
two.
months.
more.
Two.
Like-
January, yes. February, yes.
Yeah.
March, yes. April, no.
Once a month.
It depends
Because
when
of Easter.
Depends when Easter Monday is.
Yep.
So
You-
sometimes yes.
Yeah.
You girls are talking about bank holiday Mondays. I'm talking about a 4-day week. That's what I want to see.
No,
Like,
4-day week, bro. Do you know what?
all weeks, every week, 4-day week.
Can I run in politics just to fight for that
I will
cause?
fight for that.
You know what, girls,
Just
let's
a
actually do that
hurry
right
up,
now. Let's go.
And
about
I will
things that
fight.
we want.
Yes.
Katie, you're involved.
Go for it.
I'm
Stuff that
already
you
on
want.
that platform.
If you could
Okay.
change something, Naira, what would it
Cool.
be?
Economics is compulsory.
Economics.
Yeah.
Home economics is compulsory.
100%.
And allowing kids to start investing from kindergarten.
Kindergarten?
No, sorry.
Preschool.
We can
Preschool.
debate the last one, yeah.
What's it called?
Junior cert.
No. I want them to start when
Primary
they're full.
school?
Like
they
crash.
start-
Junior
yeah.
infants.
They should, like, parents who want to give their kids money, or like, let's say for
Junior
example,
infants.
you can pay this percentage with your child, and that percentage follows your kid to secondary school.
So you're saying that like so the children know
I'm the president,
So
whatever goes.
So then you're saying the children are learning 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4,
The kid doesn't
5.
know yet.
€5
Bitcoin.
goes into this bank account
Funds
and it
should
stays.
be, as soon as the kids start school, funds should be there. So at least
From
it's-
who?
The parents will just invest in a little.
But what if the
Child
parents are
benefit.
poor?
Yeah.
The parents are for?
Child benefit. It's already something
Oh
parents
yeah,
get.
child benefit.
But what if they need that though?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
percentage of it for the kids' future. No.
Maybe the government should add more money to it and put it in for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
there
like, you
go.
know what? When
Increase
I'm in
child
there
benefit.
with my party, we'll
Because
talk
I'm
about
not
it.
gonna
Like,
talk.
yeah, you have Katie on the team. We'll talk about it. You get me? 'Cause obviously I'm
Figure
not
it out.
To be, I be so fair. I'm not as knowledgeable as, because I do stay in my own bubble. But when I do see small things, I'm just like, this could just be changed by this.
I think in secondary school is when I think kids need to start learning things like, because
Yeah.
I wish I knew
Yeah.
about Bitcoin when Bitcoin was still a thing. Do you know how many kids who probably have
told
so
me
much
in
money
uni.
or families?
Yeah, I never
Actually,
heard about
Katie,
Bitcoin.
you went
till
to
it
the
same
thing.
uni. You went to Maynooth.
Oh yes,
Yeah. Maynooth
yeah.
is a good college.
Love Maynooth. Yeah,
So
that's
many
actually
people I know have gone to Maynooth and they did
Yeah.
real well in Maynooth.
yeah. That's where I met my fiance.
Yes,
yeah.
he was. I remember one time he
was
took
student
us
union
on
president.
a marathon or something, and then he was the leader of our group.
Yeah.
And we went to a museum, and then he was leader of the group, right? But he was checking everyone if it was there.
Uh-huh.
So obviously, I fell asleep as soon as I got on the bus,
Of course.
and he was looking for me.
Oh really? That's so funny.
Yeah, and he was like, "I was looking for you. I called you. I looked at my phone. I said, oh, I was asleep."
I
could
love
fall
that. That's so
asleep
funny. Yeah, Maynooth is
standing,
great.
like,
To be
Yeah.
fair.
But seriousness, yes. Spin the block. You go next.
Me, I would definitely be here for a 4-day week, 100%. I would also be here for, I think they need to make things like school uniforms and school books a little bit cheaper. Like, I remember how much those
Yeah,
things
mad.
used to
Because
cost.
of that little
School books
crest.
should be free.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they should be free. School and uniforms free.
Yeah.
I agree.
But the thing is, like,
Let's start our own party.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
GTG party.
I'll be
Oh
over
my
there.
God. Why does that sound so good?
I'll just be your advisor in the background. You girls can be the front facing.
Tell us what to do.
Watch this.
It's one of those things where it's like kids are ever growing, especially in like primary school.
Like weeds.
Literally. And
Yeah.
it's like a lot of them can't wear the same things. And
No.
you're like, I understand the importance of unison, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it reduces bullying.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
kids
yeah.
doesn't have this, your kids don't have this. But why make them so
Expensive.
expensive?
But it's the ones with the crest. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like in my school, like we had like a grey pinafore and like the jumper that we had, you had to have the crest on it. So it meant that you couldn't go to Dunn's, you couldn't go to
And buy it for
Tesco.
fiver.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know what they
Stupid.
do in the UK is that they print off the crest badges, so you
Yeah.
just iron them on.
Yeah.
Let's
We
do
need to
that
do-
instead.
I
Let's
know,
do
it's so
things
silly.
like that instead.
I think it's the small thing.
It's just a small
Yes,
thing.
it is.
Small
They make
thing.
huge difference to people's lives.
In secondary school,
Sorry, go on.
I remember how heavy my bags used to be from the weight of the books.
But you know the secondary schools now, they're doing iPads.
iPads. Yeah.
But it's like €750 for an iPad.
So silly.
To buy. Like not to rent. I don't know to buy, but it's just like basically for insurance or something.
Yeah.
So it's like the books probably like €400.
Yeah.
Now iPads are €700.
Exactly.
If you have two or
and then
three
I'm pretty
kids-
sure you might have to still buy the books to put onto the
get?
iPads, because you still need the iBooks. Something I will say in the UK, I don't know how they might feel about this. A lot of the UK don't have homework. They
Yeah,
don't need them.
abolish homework.
Yeah, they don't need to carry
Michael
the books
D.
back
Higgins
home.
believes in getting rid of homework.
Hey, yo, Michael, spin
They
the
don't
block.
need to carry those books. So you can still have books in school
Yeah.
that kids aren't taking home, because it's the weight of them
Yeah.
that I'm complaining about.
Girls, I actually had that. I didn't have like for my
You had no homework?
no, but okay, It was. So anyways, I went to school.
Rhea just didn't do her homework.
Yeah, no,
she got it, but she didn't do it.
In my first school I did, but my second, that was definitely true. My second school, I used to get into school for 9 o'clock and I finished at 6:30. So yeah.
Why was that?
I was in what's one of those, it was like a private school. It was like a repeat school. It was started off as a repeat school, but it's more about like people who want to do well and they're leaving.
Oh, it's leaving cert.
Shout out to your mom for
cert.
putting
Yeah,
you there.
Yeah, well, anyways, I was a delight when I was younger. Anyways, moving on. But yeah, so we would just do our, like, so let's say in the mornings we'd have like maths and then I have a study class. So our study was integrated into our school days, which meant that we just got all of our work done. So come 6:30, you didn't really have to think about school.
Yeah.
I probably should have, because I probably would have done a lot better. But in saying that, it was like, you just had your day in there. And I had no uniform. Got to call my teachers by their first names. I had a fucking blast, bro.
Right.
It was great.
I think we should be able to use our phones to get on the bus.
Are you? Oh,
Oh yeah, the tap on your phone.
Like
Yeah,
Oyster-
definitely.
Oyster cards.
It's about time they
Yeah,
did
big
that.
time. Yeah.
carrying on.
The technology is there. They just need to do
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
they really need to do that. But I'm like, I'm trying to think what else.
We can spin the block on you. We'll go around. Rhea, what do you think?
Right. Okay, so I definitely think transport.
Yeah.
Transport definitely needs to change. I think I know buses are starting to become 24 hours and stuff like that, and that's great if you like the bus, but if you're like me and live in the back arse of nowhere, it takes 2 hours to get anywhere on a bus. So more frequent train times, more Lewises
Yes.
that are not going to be being built in 2052 or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because I need them for now, but I know with times and everything it doesn't work. I think cheaper rental costs,
100%.
better nightlife. I think.
Yeah.
I think because like Ireland, the Irish are known as drinkers, right? We can't beat it. We can't beat the stereotype.
We can't beat the
And
allegations, bro.
We can't beat the allegations. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we are drinkers. We do drink a lot, but we're confined to such a small window. So of course, that's why people go wild. Do you know what I mean? Because you're getting kicked out of pubs, clubs, bars at like 2 a.m., which is when you're probably peaking. Everybody just wants to have fun, go wild. Do you know what I mean? And there's nowhere for people to to actually just relax or to let the alcohol leave their system in an appropriate manner. And if we had staggered venue, like if we had staggered opening times, do you know what I mean? If we had longer opening times, it means that people would be more staggered going in. You'd have your early club goers, you'd have your early pub goers, and then you'd have your later club goers. Do you know what I mean? So it means that even easier to get some taxis going home
Or later public transport so that you can get the public transport home.
do you know what I mean?
That
And
would be
like,
so
have you ever
nice.
got the bus after a night out and you're like a sardine?
A bus?
Yeah, it's not
On a
easy.
night out is where you even went wrong with asking me. I'm at home.
I'm
Where am I
home.
going? Nothing
Yeah.
is open.
But
I
that's
know.
the problem. Like, that's why so much young people, we're all at home. Like, people aren't connecting more. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
The last time I tried to go into Dicey's, everyone was standing outside, and then the person, the security guard, was like, "Dicey's is not for you, love." I was like, "Grand, thanks for the heads up, bye."
do you know what I mean?
The queue was so long, but she was just saying that it was too rowdy. She was
Yeah.
like, "You're just a bit too classy to be in there right now."
you
I
get
was
it?
like, "Thanks, I'm going home. I'm gonna take that note and go home."
Yeah,
But
fair.
it's like people aren't connecting the way we did, and obviously that has to do with like the like COVID and stuff. Like there
We're
was
a lot more miserable.
Yeah, we're like, but remember, like it would be fun to
Yeah.
like leave work, see your friends, you know, meet up. Now it's like I need to get
don't know
home.
about the leave work bit. I'm happy not going in to begin with. I'm happy
Fair.
with the work from home.
Fair.
And actually finishing on time at home. That's something else that I think the law needs to be brought. If your contract says you finish work at 5 p.m., if you're not being paid overtime, you have to finish work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Katie? Your thoughts on if you were...
I mean, I have a list of things.
I know.
A
Give us
list.
your best
Let's
five.
go.
I think one of the things that I'm really passionate about is women's healthcare.
Yeah.
And in particular, like reproductive healthcare and maternity healthcare. I think maternity healthcare in Ireland is probably a little bit too over medicalized in that like we have the highest rate of cesarean section in the European Union. And again, if a woman decides to have a cesarean, I'm not judging her, I'm just saying that there's probably a huge amount of unnecessary cesarean sections. You know, I think I would definitely have a look at like, you know, screening for like cancers and endometriosis and things like that in women's healthcare. Waiting lists are insanely long, and it's women are suffering. So I think if women's healthcare is like a huge thing for me, and then I'm all on board with a better public transport system. I think if we really want to tackle climate change in a practical way, we need to get cars off the road, and we need to get people into public transport, and the public transport systems need to be clean, need to be efficient, and need to be reliable. Like those are the three things that it needs to be, and if they're not,
and safe,
people are unsafe, of course, people are not going to use them. And then I think if I had to pick one more thing, I probably would go down the line of like better workers' rights. Like I'd probably increase the amount of workers' rights that we have in Ireland, and
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know mine.
People's ability to a thing called collective bargaining, which is like, you know, being able to get together and bargain for better rights and working conditions and things like that. So those would probably be my three things. I mean, I'd have a litany of stuff like I could talk about.
I'm actually intrigued to hear more, because it's like the stuff you said were fire. Like, it's
thanks.
Give us 10. We
keep going. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually
your comment section.
Girl, I think you will make a great politician. Like,
I think we all would.
This is the most I've ever listened to politics that I'm actually interested in.
I have another follow up from your question, Roz, just there. So, okay, obviously, if you want to get into politics, the most obvious one is to become a politician.
Sure.
What other ways can you get into politics?
Yeah, you can join somebody's campaign team, like volunteer your time and knock on doors. I did it before. I used to, I campaigned in the Dublin Bay South by-election, which is when a TD stands down and you need to fill the seat. So it's not an election, it's just for one seat. I campaigned. That was actually my first ever time campaigning, like knocking on people's door, and I loved it. Like I shit myself a little bit beforehand. I was like, oh my God, what if I get somebody that's really mean or, you know, like horrible on the door? But actually I had a really great time. I really loved it. So you can volunteer time on somebody's campaign team. You could do somebody's social media. You can, you know, do any, like just offer your time to keep track of emails or whatever the case may be. You can work for a party or for a candidate or somebody or even for the government in like civil in the civil service. I got into politics like working wise because I came out of the students' union. So I was president of my students' union, Maynooth, and then I came out and I kind of went into the first job that I was offered. Didn't really like it. It was fine, but I didn't really like it. But then the opportunity came up to do social media for a political party, and I jumped on it. Now I had no qualification in social media. I had a business degree. But I obviously sold myself enough so that they took me on, and I worked in their press office for 2 years. That was great exposure. So even if you're not political in the sense that you have like loads of political knowledge, but you have skills in social media or whatever the case may be, you might work for a party for a little while. Or else like an advocacy group. So, you know, a group who does like activism or advocacy around whatever the topic. It could be about race, it could be about gender, it could be about anything really. And getting involved in them is a great way to figure out how the political system works, because you're obviously trying to get something done. My first exposure to political activism was when I was in secondary school, and we really desperately needed an extension. Our school was tiny. We had a huge population because we're obviously out in Dublin West, which is in the early 2000s was a massive urban sprawl of Dublin. And we got together and we created a petition, and we got thousands of signatures of students and parents alike, and we presented it to our TDs at the time, which was Leo Varadkar and like Joan Burton and all of these people, and we got our extension. Now I was gone by the time it was built, but that's not the point. Is that I look at that extension, and like, don't get me wrong, I know it obviously wasn't me. I'm sure a lot more serious lobbying than a 12-year-old girl was happening, you know, in the background. But I look at that now and I go, oh, I had an impact. You know, like I created some noise. And if you want to get involved in politics but you're not sure how, getting involved in an issue can be a great way to get exposure.
Yeah, no, but you're dead right with that. Like, I think it's sort of showing us that, like, okay, 12-year-old Katie maybe wasn't the whole reason why an extension was built on a school, but because there was a 12-year-old Katie actually petitioning for this helped more people get involved. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely sort of like, we're talking about politics right now, but it's like I feel like I'm hating outside the club because I haven't gone in yet. Do you get me? Like, and it's like because I haven't voted. So it's like, it definitely puts a perspective to me.
But you also don't have to be actively involved in a political party or in politics, for example, to care and to talk about it. Like you very much have every right as somebody who lives here to, you know, have an opinion, talk about it, you know, talk about it with your friends, your family, your circles, podcasts like this, and try and shape what you think is the right way to do, or the right way to go. And I think, like, you know, people kind of sometimes think, you know, I think as women especially, we tend to expect ourselves to have a much higher level of competencies to do things. Whereas, like, have you ever heard the anecdote of, like, if a man applies for a job and he has 3 things out of 5 things on the job description, he'll apply. Whereas if a woman is missing 1 thing, she'll say, I'm not qualified, I can't do that. And it, on the flip side, when I talk to people about gender quotas, for example, people say, well, I only vote on merit. I vote on who's the best at the job. I don't care about gender. But they expect the woman candidate to be a lot more...
sort of experienced.
experienced, qualified, advanced than they ever will a man.
There's a higher standard on
There's a much higher standard. They're like, will she be able for the job? And I'm like, are you asking the men that? Like, probably not.
Juxtaposition,
I
like,
don't
it's
know
crazy.
who made men think they own politics.
Oppression.
The men who created the politics. Like, I always say 100 and whatever years ago, when Ireland became a republic and we created our constitution, women were actively written out of that constitution. We were actively designed out of politics. So no wonder 100 years on, like, which is relatively a short period of time, we're still in the position that we're in, because we still have a constitution that says a woman's place is in the home. You know, we were actively written out of that democracy. We weren't given the vote. Obviously, we eventually got it, but we weren't given the vote. We were told that when we had children, we had to leave our jobs. You know, there was systematic things put in place to make sure that we stayed in our place. And there's a reason for that.
Our child benefit, which we were talking about before, used to get paid into your husband's bank account.
Yeah.
It wasn't even,
or you had to have a signature to open your own bank account from your husband or your dad.
Yeah, you
and
weren't
even
allowed.
if we look at some of the things that have been ran in the country recently, that they were all based off, well, not based off, but they were for women. Like, you had this one that just went through, and then a couple of years ago, you also had the abortion one as well.
Repeal the 8th, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, it's sad not to see that many women in such high, powerful places when we have things like this that we need to vote for. It'd be nice to see a lot more women up there being like, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Even if you're for it or against it, it's just still be nice to see a woman up there.
Totally. And I mean, we wouldn't have had repeal had it not been for a woman. Like a TD called Ivana Bacik, she's the leader of the Labour Party. We wouldn't have had repeal if it wasn't for her, because when she was student union president way back when in Trinity College, she was advocating for people to be able to get condoms, and she was taken to court for providing abortion information to students who were in need. And again, look, depending on whatever side of the debate that you're on, lots of women got activated and were working on the repeal referendum for and against. And it's time now that those women who were actively involved in that campaign put themselves forward for the positions to be able to be that representative of women. Like, we're 51% of the population, and yet we're, you know, there's only 30.
We're even higher than the men.
There's only 37 of them in the Dáil, and there's 3 out of the 6 main party leaders are women. We've Mary Lou McDonald, the leader of Sinn Féin. We've Holly Cairns, the leader of the Social Democrats, and we've Ivana Bacik, the leader of the Labour Party, you know? So,
listen,
I mean, hey.
well, Katie's here.
Guys, if this is if you feel like this is a sign for you to get into politics, it is a sign. Do it for all of us, because
do it for me, please.
And you can email me at Katie, it's so Katie at womenforelection.ie, and I will talk to anybody who is interested in running or getting involved.
This has been such an informative.
100%.
I enjoy this.
I really did enjoy it. Katie, thank you so much
for
coming on and
thanks
sharing
for having
knowledge.
me.
And, like, you know, I even learned a bit from you, because obviously we're new to this podcast game, being, you know, media trained. In regards to maybe communicating properly your points without,
I heard every word you said.
Yeah, without prejudice or without hurt, like, you know, being, let's say, too politically incorrect is crazy. Correct. Just the way,
Yeah.
I love the way you speak, honestly. I'm so happy that you did come. I was
Thanks.
quite nervous today because obviously I don't know anything about politics. I'm the person that like sits in the back and just watches everything happen or doesn't pay attention and all. But you really did inspire me to at least register. You know what I mean?
Yes, please do register.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so guys,
That's
please.
first step.
Run, if you run, I'll help.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll knock on someone's door. It's GTG. Like,
Yeah.
hi, we get the gist,
Wait.
and here is the gist. Vote for Katie.
Yeah.
Guys, please, if you have any questions, please email Katie. Your email will also be in the description box. If
Great.
you guys have any, disagreements, agreements, questions, put them in the comment section. We can send them off to Katie, or, she can read it there, if you have free time or whatever. And yes, guys, thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and tune in next week for your weekly subscription
subscription
to
to
the
the
Katie, I didn't tell you your camera's there. That's